Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. Continuing with last week's topic, today we're going to be looking at the NFC predictions for the 2020 season. We're going to be looking at all the divisions and giving our record picks and division winners, and thereby the playoff picture that would result from that for the NFC. If you haven't seen last week's podcast, we talked about all the AFC teams. I'm going to link that on my channel page in the description of this video if I remember to do so. You can go check that out, listen to that. Today we're going to be talking NFC. And Smokey, first of all, how's it going? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm better than the inner cities of most towns in America right now.
Okay. So we're not doing sports this time, actually. We're expanding.
No sports.
You're expanding your opener. That's.
I'm better
very
than Blue in the marble races that everyone's talking about.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. All right. Do you think you got some picks today?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're gonna take issue with some of them as well.
All right. So you told me that before we started.
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Well, because I tend to value the Falcons, and you tend to not.
What? I tend to not. What do you mean?
I'm looking through. I'm trying to figure. I know you're gonna take issue with that, of course. But I have reasoning behind it, and you may take issue with my Packers pick, and how high I am on the Giants this season.
All right,
and maybe even the Cardinals.
Okay, I feel like we won't disagree as much as you think, just from what you said.
Okay.
I just quickly want to just get rid of any accusation that I'm somehow biased against Atlanta. I'm absolutely not. As a matter of fact, gun to my head, I would say the Falcons are my favorite team in the NFC South.
Whoa.
However, I am mostly neutral in that division. I recently saw a replay of Navarro Bowman's interception, and that that made me feel slightly sorry for you. So I had to say this. Just to redeem myself a little bit, but we'll get to the South when we get to the South, and we're gonna start with the East once again, like we did last week, and this is potentially the most mediocre division in football, just like it was last year. Who do you have winning this, and what kind of records are you predicting for these teams?
Well, I am once again going with the Eagles to win the division, which I think both of us actually were correct about last season. Although the record was not as well as we predicted. It was very lackluster, to tell you the truth. But I still have them winning the division this year at 10-6. I think Carson Wentz is going to get this team back on track at some point, but it may not be right at the beginning of the season. It's going to take a while for these rookies to come around and start playing up to their talent level. And I do think they are the most talented team in this division. They definitely have the best quarterback in this division, although some are going to argue Dak Prescott, which I will take Carson Wentz over Dak Prescott any day of the week. But I do have the Cowboys second at 9-7. I don't know if I said the Eagles. I have the Eagles at 10-6. Cowboys at 9-7. I do predict them to be slightly better than last year, but not by much. I think it's going to be almost a replay of last year. Now the Giants, I do have them improving to 8-8 this season because I believe in Daniel Jones, and I think within a couple years he is going to cement himself as a superstar in this league. I think he has the talent to do it. Maybe this year he just gets the offense running a little more than it has been, and with a few key pieces and O-line upgrade, these guys could win that division in 2 years. But this year I have them at 8-8, and the Redskins are pretty much going to continue to be the Redskins and end up 4-12 this season.
All right, so actually I don't have too much to complain here. You've hit all of my predictions within a single game.
Oh, wow.
And I actually have the Eagles and Cowboys the exact same way, 10-6, 9-7. I might slightly disagree saying that the Eagles are the most talented team in this division. I think Cowboys are more talented in most spots. They're more stacked and more experienced. The Eagles had maybe the best draft aside from Denver in the entire league. And I think they got a lot of good picks, but we've seen how this team looked last year, and it was very Packer-esque. You have a quarterback that's carrying just mediocrity towards a barely winning record. And I feel like it's going to slightly improve from that, but this is not a Super Bowl roster that it was a couple of years ago. The defense and the offensive weapons aren't there. If Nick Foles was the quarterback of this team now, they would not have a winning record, and they would not sniff playoff air. So they definitely have degraded from that, but I believe they had a great draft, and I think they are in position, if Carson Wentz stays healthy, with an MVP caliber year from him to win this division with double-digit wins and make the playoffs. Maybe have a bit of a better push, more relevant push than they did last year. Cowboys at 9-7, very much bottlenecked by Dak Prescott and whatever situation is going on with his contract, and will he be happy with where he's going to be at? What's going to happen there? Franchise tag gets involved, and is he going to get money? When does he get paid? Or are they even going to move on from him after the season if they're not going to meet what, by the way, will be very, very expensive for Jerry Jones if he doesn't get it done soon, because there's a certain other quarterback, not sure if you ever heard of him, he wears number 15 in a red jersey, and he's going to get over $200 million very soon, this offseason, as a matter of fact. And if Jerry Jones waits until then, he's going to have to really pull his wallet out, because whenever this new benchmark happens, the next quarterback's going to want that much. So I don't know what's happening there. It's a very tough decision to make, because I personally have a tough time determining what Dak Prescott is worth. I think he's worth a lot less than he wants, but then again, he's a good starting quarterback. So is he worth Patrick Mahomes' money? No, but he's probably in the same realm as like a Jared Goff or a Jimmy Garoppolo. Is above average quality starter, but he's not your superstar. Your superstars are on defense, and of course Zeke Elliott. They had a good draft, CeeDee Lamb obviously, and I think they're going to be looking okay, but 9-7 is where I have them. Giants, you had them at 8-8. I got 7-9, so we're also very close on this. I also believe in Daniel Jones. Now, don't go and claim that you're the Daniel Jones guy here. I'm the Daniel Jones guy. Yeah, I just want to make sure people know this, because I was the Daniel Jones guy before he got drafted, and I was the Daniel Jones guy when everyone was laughing at him being drafted over everybody by the Giants in that draft. That's when I was the Daniel Jones guy. So. Yes, he's going to be good. The talent of the team is not going to quite match up to the Eagles and Cowboys, though it is going to be very close at the top. And the Giants are going to be looking a lot more revitalized, let's say, than they have in recent years. Redskins 3-13 to me. They don't have, in my opinion, they don't have a quarterback on their team right now. They're not an NFL starting quarterback. They are going to be having a much improved defense, and especially their defensive line is promising. And that we've seen that having the ability to push teams on a meteoric rise. Let me remind you of the Jaguars whenever it was Jacksonville, or last you looked at the 49ers, teams that were built on the defensive line and actually made huge pushes and revolutionized the league in a way. Not sure this is going to be the case with Washington just yet, because I think the core of the team still is not strong enough. They have something promising on defense, but a lot of things need to be sorted out, and they're going to be one of the teams that they're going to be rebuilding for another year. So I have them at 3-13 here. Also considering that I think they're probably going to lose all 6 games within their division, because it's going to be such a tight division. They'll probably have a tough time. They'll be the odd one out here. Let's go to the North, and what do you have? What are you looking at?
Well, I have Aaron Rodgers to beat Aaron Rodgers and to will this half-ass sorry team to another 11-5 season, which is not quite as good as their record last year, of course, but you can't say the team has gotten better. You can almost say the team has gotten worse, but we still have Aaron Rodgers there, and Aaron Rodgers is the reason we can get this team, well, along with Devontae Adams, I'll give him that. And Aaron Jones is not bad, but I see them going 11-5. Now, the controversy here comes with the second place team in this division, because the Lions, I really think they're going to be much more improved as long as Matt Stafford can stay healthy out there with Babytron as his number one target. But the Vikings are, I mean, they're right on the heels of the Packers, as we saw all last season. And Kirk Cousins in the group, I would just put it like this: the Packers are going 11-5, Vikings going 10-6, the Lions are going 9-7, and I struggle with that. I almost flipped the two. And the Bears, much like the Redskins, I still think are going to be the Bears, because I don't believe in Mitchell Trubisky and I don't believe in Matt Nagy. They're going 4-12, just like the Redskins.
Do you believe in Nick Foles more than you do, Mitch?
No, I do not. Which is another reason. Just like when they signed Mike Glennon, I'm like, what is that doing for you guys? Like, what? What?
I have one question that you just need to kind of go through. You have the Packers at 11-5. Yes. I'm going to say I have them at 10-6, and Aaron Rodgers is responsible for at least 8 of those. Mm-hmm. But this is pretty much the most out there pick I want to make for them. I tried to somehow put them at double-digit wins. Not gonna lie, I don't fully believe it at all. Look at the schedule that they're playing. First of all, their division isn't gonna be very bad. The Vikings are contenders. Then they play the Chiefs, they play the 49ers, and they also play the entire NFC South, which we're getting to next, which has 3 potential teams that could beat them. Plus, they play the Eagles and the Tennessee Titans, which we don't know too much about. But actually, let me correct that. The Chiefs game is a preseason game, but they still play the NFC South, and they play the Niners. They play Minesota twice a year,
of course.
And we don't know too much about the Lions. I have the Packers at 10-6, and I think they're regressing. They're, like you said, they got worse as a team. The morale, the mentality around the team got a lot worse, with probably the worst draft pick in recent history that I can remember, just off the top of my head, with Jordan Love. That was the most boneheaded pick I've seen all year. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Rodgers is gonna be Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna will a team, like I said. He's gonna carry them to maybe double-digit wins, maybe a division. I have the Vikings win division by 1 game. I got them 11-5.
Oh, wow.
I feel like you're kind of underestimating the Vikings a little bit, because they did well. I mean, they were okay.
They were. But
they went to New Orleans and won.
You can't doubt Aaron Rodgers. And it's the second year in LaFleur's offense.
Yes. But it's also going to be a year where Aaron Rodgers is not happy being where he is. Seeing other teams just like the Vikings just building such a sound defense, such a sound surrounding core. He's like, Aaron Rodgers is looking at half the NFC right now, thinking, if I was on that roster, I would have been in that Super Bowl last year, or I would be in the next Super Bowl, and I wouldn't get beat up by just better teams. And I feel like that's got to have a toll on him eventually, because it seems at this point that they are going out of their way to not support him. And I said this a couple weeks ago. I said the Packers have decided their fate this year with this draft. They've decided that their Super Bowl window is closed. They've closed it themselves by picking Jordan Love. They decided it's going to be the future, and the present is over. So to me, Packers, more of a fringe playoff team than a lot of people might think. Got them 10-6. Vikings 11-5. Let's get to the Lions now. I really want the Lions to be good, and I have them at 8-8, and I believe they have a shot to be much better at this. I believe they have a shot at double-digit wins. But the problem and the reason that I don't have them picked there is because people have said this for 20 years now, and it hasn't really happened. And until I see it happen, because this is sort of a milder version of the Packers still. This is still Matthew Stafford and a kind of underwhelming team. And ever since Megatron left, that was amplified by 10, obviously. I have them 8-8, but I believe they are in a good position over the next few years to take on that Packers role and actually make a playoff push. Might not be this year, it might, but I think they are definitely trending upwards. At least I hope they are. But a lot of positive things that I'm seeing there. Bears, I have them at 6-10. I'm assuming Nick Foles is going to start, and Nick Foles on an average team just screams 6 to 7 wins at me somehow. So I feel like they probably have a very good defense, but probably not going to be viable for a real playoff contender, in my opinion there. All right, let's go to the South. This is probably going to be one that's going to interest you quite a bit. Let me guess. No, actually, don't let me not guess. Just tell me who you have winning the division.
I kind of wanted you to guess.
All right, Panthers.
Yes, exactly. At 13-3. No, I'm just no. I have the Falcons winning, of course, because they are possibly the most talented. I mean, it's really tough when I look at what the Bucs have on that offense to say that the Falcons are the most talented team, but they do have a monster D-line also. But the Falcons, people are going to take issue with this. The Falcons have a better quarterback at this time because Brady is 43 years old.
No issue taken.
Okay, good. But some people are, and you know that.
Yes,
There's probably going to be some comments out there saying that you're an idiot. It's Tom Brady. Sure. And also, you have another aging quarterback. I mean, you have two geriatric quarterbacks that are ready for the nursing home right now in this division. And I'm predicting that this is the fall-off season for Drew Brees. You know, it's definitely. I think
you did that last year. I am obliged to remember you picked that last year too.
Did I?
Yeah.
I did predict the Falcons to win for sure. Okay, but this is it because Tom Brady's already had his fall-off season. He's just lucky enough
like 3 of them.
to keep playing. But I want a successful team at that. Whereas Peyton Manning had his fall-off season and still won a Super Bowl. Now, don't get me wrong. You can fall into, the doldrums of quarterback old age and still win. I mean, we saw it with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. But I think this is the season that the Falcons come back to prominence and go 11-5. The Saints end up 10-6, snipping on their heels and still make the playoffs. The Bucs are just going to be average with all that offensive talent with no one to actually make those throws to those guys. Now, I will still use Chris Godwin and Mike Evans in fantasy football. Don't get me wrong there. And the Panthers are going to be what the Panthers were last season with Teddy Bridgewater instead of Kyle. The Panthers are going 3-13. They're going to suck. They're going to really suck.
I feel like they might be even less than they were last year, considering no Luke Kuechly, and that defense has gotten considerably worse. All right, top of the division. I don't really disagree with too much of the things you said. A lot of people probably will, like you mentioned. I've got it flipped around at the top. I have the Saints at 11-5, the Falcons at 10-6. And you can't be too mad at me for making these picks, I want to argue. So first look at the Saints-Falcons comparison. And I have the Saints winning it because this is their season to do it. They've brought the band back together for one more year, so to speak, with Drew Brees, that defense, Kamara still there, Michael Thomas. The pieces are pretty much still there, and they haven't lost much. So I don't expect them to fall off much from last year, other than that they are on the older end for a roster in general. And of course, with Drew Brees, they've just gotten a year older. I think they'll edge it out just as much. Something that I will agree with is that I believe the Falcons intermediate terms, next 5 years or so, are going to rise to be the best team in this division again. I got them 10-6. I think last year was a somewhat of a fluke, a down year. I think everyone can agree that they are a better team than what they showed. And believe very much so that should be able to come through. I have them going at 10-6. I also have Tampa Bay going 10-6, and this is a little bit of a. This is a tough pick to make, because Tampa, you compare them to Atlanta, and actually I like what you were doing there. Let's compare Tampa to Atlanta a little bit, position by position. So quarterback, I'll say slight advantage for the Falcons.
Yes.
Receiver 1, slight advantage Falcons, Julio versus Mike Evans.
Yes.
Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin.
It's close.
Slight advantage Tampa, probably.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
And then at tight end, you don't know what Gronk is, but if Gronk is what people think he is or what he was, that's definitely an advantage for Tampa.
If he was.
Running back wise, it depends a lot on what Todd Gurley can bring. I would have to think to this offense.
If he can return to what he was, then we definitely have the advantage.
Oh, yeah. If he does, then he'll be better than Devontae Freeman ever was for the Falcons. So that will definitely be an advantage. And defense, I have to give to Atlanta also. I feel like the Buccaneers are going to have a very explosive offense because of all these weapons, though. And for them, we already know how they work. I think Tom Brady's going to be in a system that's going to fit him decently well. It's going to be a changed system. We're not going to see vertical passing and chuck a deep big play Jameis. That's not what it's going to be, and the receivers will have to adjust for that. But Tom Brady has his greatest gift of his lifetime in Gronk on his team. And he has an improved receiving core from last year in New England, where he saw kind of his entire circle of friends die out, and he was left with only Edelman, and all of a sudden, where is everybody? And didn't get much of anything done. I think he'll be in a better spot there with the Bucs. Now, I recognize that this team has a chance of catastrophic failure. I'm talking like 5-11 type of catastrophic failure. And I was forcefully reminded just when you talked about this. You know the saying that you can take a quarterback out of Cleveland, but you can't take the Cleveland out of a quarterback?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see what happens whenever you take the New England out of a quarterback here. Or you take the quarterback out of New England.
Yes.
And
because at any other position, it has never worked out. At almost every other position. I mean, Wes Welker,
that is maybe. Players, that is coaching, that is everything.
Yes.
It all kind of comes together at Belichick. And we'll see if Gronk and Brady are going to be, the difference there. Statistics say no. Intuition says probably not. Not as much as maybe people like to think. I wouldn't be surprised if New England had a better record than Tampa. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the other way around either, but had to put money on it, I would go with the system of Belichick there. I have them going 10-6, which is the upper end here. That's kind of the ceiling there. That's the best case sort of scenario, because they could be a very explosive offense. And then the Panthers, I have them at 5-11 because I think Bridgewater is serviceable, and he might pull out a win or two within the division just off of surprises. Plus, their schedule isn't necessarily the toughest, so 5-11 seems right. No playoff contention, though. They are knees deep in a rebuild. They might have their quarterback in place. They might not. Chances are they do, but the defense needs a lot of work, and the help around the quarterback also needs a lot of work. He's going to have a lot less than he did. Yeah, that's true. He had a lot less than he did in New Orleans, so we'll see how he fares there. To me, it's pretty much a down season there. But so far we agree, or got pretty close to agreeing on stuff. Yeah. So what do you think about this? About my views on the South, though? Saints Falcons. I think you will see that this is a reasonable constellation. Just having them switched.
Oh yeah, I'm not mad at that. I don't hate it.
I would be surprised, honestly, if the Falcons came back big and won the division. It's going to depend a little bit on the Saints and if they noticeably worsen.
Because the last time they won the division, the Saints were horrible. Only won like 4 games that season.
And the Falcons and Saints games are always going to be, they're always great games.
Oh, of course.
Every single year. It doesn't matter how they're, even last year.
And it's almost always 1-1.
Yeah. So, quite predictable or quite likely that this division will be decided head-to-head. Presuming the Buccaneers don't play too big of a role into the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right. let's go to the West and close this out. Smokey, you want to start off? And this is where I'm going to be looking at you with a very critical eye.
Well, since we made it this far, I really don't feel like we're going to disagree that much anymore because I have Jimmy G in the 49ers and that quadruple-headed running back system that Kyle Shanahan is running at 13-3. So almost as good as they were last year, basically. Coming behind them, though, there's going to be a big fall off to the Seahawks because, as we see with the Seahawks, they're always horrible at the first of the season. Well, actually, I'll take that back. Last year, it was almost the opposite. They were really good at the first of the season, and then they fell off as the season went on. But almost every season before that, until you get back to the Super Bowl runs, they would have this thing where they were horrible at the first of the season, and then they would pick it up just in time to make the playoffs. Now, I'm predicting that they will go 9-7, but they're being at 9-7. They're going to have to fight to make the playoffs because I also have the Cowboys and the Lions at 9-7. The Cardinals, I predict that the Cardinals are going to be better. Kyler Murray's second year, their new their new head coach's second year, Cliff Kingsbury, and also the added additions to the offense. You know, you're gonna have a great wide receiver situation there. Christian Kirk's third season, Larry is still there. The new additions should be good. I almost forgot DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh yeah, heard of it.
I'm talking about how good their wide receivers are, and almost forgot the main component. But anyway, their running back situation is not looking bad, considering the changes they made. They got rid of David Johnson. I think the Bucs go 8-8. I think they're gonna probably be very effective in 2 seasons from now. But as for this season, 8-8, and the Rams, I expect them to continue falling from where they were last year and the season before that, of course. I have them going 5-11 because maybe Sean McVay is not the great mind that everyone expected he was. And maybe Jared Goff is not your superstar franchise quarterback. And that's all I got to say about that.
5-11 is very critical. I might have to wash my mouth after this, but I might defend the Rams against you in this later. But we'll get there later on because they're on the bottom of my list too. Trust me. Mm-hmm. I agree with you on the Niners. I got them 13-3.
Yeah.
Average schedule. Looking at the schedule, potentially they should win 15 games. I think maybe they should. I mean, they should be favored in every one, obviously. But I think they'll drop 1 or 2 into the division. I'm specifically looking at that last game, 16 against Seattle, which is going to be in January actually, and that's likely going to be a game where if things go as expected, they're going to be resting their starters because they're going to be playing in the playoffs. And this is one of those classic games where just an upset happens. Plus, they play New Orleans and hold your hats, everybody, Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to be one of those trap games. This could be one of the losses that I have actually penciled in. I don't have them written down specifically which ones they'll lose and win, but looking at the teams they play, there's a couple of dangerous ones. Week 1 Denver, no, that's preseason, I'm sorry. Week 1 is actually Arizona. I think they'll drop one in the division. You have New England, you have Green Bay, that's a win. You have New Orleans and then Buffalo. So those are kind of the ones that we're looking at here as might be a couple slip ups in there, and then they might rest their players at the end. On paper, they should probably go undefeated or win 15 games, but just statistically, it's improbable for that to happen. But they are the best team in the NFC, I think, by a wider margin than they were last year. And I've already picked, actually I picked this before, I think, the last playoffs. I picked that the Chiefs and Niners would be in the Super Bowl against each other multiple times in the future. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I believe that's going to start in 2020. And I believe we're going to get a rematch. wouldn't be surprised if we see it several times. I think the distance between them and the second best team in the division has increased slightly, and that's in the conference. Sorry, that's New Orleans, not Green Bay. Even though that was a championship game, Green Bay is a much worse of a matchup.
It's actually the Falcons
for them.
By the way.
Okay, the Falcons. Yeah. Okay,
That's,
the Falcons.
Maybe.
You know what? Maybe it's the Falcons. How about that? How about a grudge match with the Falcons, because they actually won
that'd be
at San
great.
Francisco last year. So that was the highlight of their season. Obviously, I wouldn't mind it. Actually, that would be fun. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting either way though. I think they got better. Seahawks, I have them at 10-6 still, and that's simply because Russell Wilson is 98%, I should say 95% of what Aaron Rodgers is, and that is an outstanding elite quarterback who will cause the majority of these wins to happen by himself, because the Seahawks team is depleted, has been depleted for a while. And they're not in Super Bowl contention, not in serious Super Bowl contention anymore, as they were whenever they had all the defensive superstars that have migrated elsewhere. Bobby Wagner, I guess, is still left, but it's definitely a depleted defense. And his history would suggest that Pete Carroll teams just tend to be made for the short term rather than the long term. Had a similar situation in college, obviously. So I think they'll be fine. They're not going to make a serious, very deep push, but they're going to make the playoffs. Cardinals 8-8, and this situation is tough for me to evaluate because my serious doubts about Kyler, obviously. I'm not going to give the whole he's short talk again because people know what I think about this at this point. He is not only short, but exceptionally so. And to the point where it's guaranteed to cause him problems no matter what system he will be in. But they can still make the best of that situation. And if they do so, and having great receivers like DeAndre Hopkins with, I think, the biggest catch radius in the league, helps with that quite a lot. I think the Cardinals going to be going 8-8 here. Don't be surprised if they have a winning record. I think they'll be better. I think Kyler is going to end up being their bottleneck, even though he looked like a very much like a spark to their team, which he was last year. I don't think he's that top caliber quarterback, but he's gonna be okay. He has a potential of having troubles, and he will have troubles, but they will be able to fight for winning records. I got him 8-8 this year. Rams, I actually have 7-9, which means that this is quite of a tight division actually at the bottom there. You had them going 5-11 for the Rams.
Yes.
This team was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yes, they were.
I mean, they brought McVay and they drafted Goff and then Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald and they explode offensively and they win a championship, and you have them going 5-11 just two years later.
And they did it on the back of Todd Gurley, and that was all a facade.
That is true. And the thing is with the run game for the Rams, it's built differently. Or I should say the McVay run game is built differently than the Shanahan run game. And this is a little bit more football technical, sort of. So I don't want to go too deep into it. But it's built a lot more, or the 49ers run game is built a lot more O-line centric than the Rams run game, or the Shanahan's compared to the McVay. Whereas the McVay run game is built more running back centric, because with the Niners, with the Shanahan, you got the outside zones, you like to get the double teams on the off tackle, and you have the blocking tight ends like George Kittle, of course, prime example. Lanes will get open up, you stretch the field horizontally quite a lot. Now Sean McVay likes to call a little bit more of the deceptive stuff, where you have an extra guy in motion and you have a little bit of confusion in the back. You call a lot of play action early on in the game, and you have to have a running back who can hit a hole. And Shannon doesn't rely on that as much. So the calling or the game design around the run game varies a little bit, and historically speaking, or generally the scheme based one, which is the one that Shanahan runs, is more consistent and probably will be more successful, especially considering the lack of superstar running back currently available to the Rams. So I think that's a more stable system, more successful offensive system built for the future, plus their defense is better. So in the long run, I like that for sure. Not because I'm biased, even though I am, but objectively, I still do. I will defend the Rams. I said it, though, against you here, because 5-11 seems very, very, very steep of a fall for a team that has still an okay starting quarterback, like a quality starting quarterback. Retroactively, it was a bad pick because Carson Wentz went after him.
He's
clearly better. And no, he's not Mariota. Carson Wentz went after him, and then Dak Prescott went 4 rounds after him, who is at least as good as Jared Goff at this point also. So the Jared Goff pick retroactively was a bad pick. Bad value pick, especially considering that, believe it or not, that was, to this day, the last pick that the Rams made in a first round, because they traded everything. They traded the house for this dynasty, for this shot. And if they start falling off, or if they keep falling off, I should say, it was a very, very short tenured spike. And it's going to be tough to climb back into this because the capital is not there. The draft capital hasn't been there all those years. And they're still suffering from those contracts. Aaron Donald and
what I'm saying.
Now Todd Gurley's gone. Jared Goff, big money.
A lot of those superstars that they signed are leaving now because their contracts are up.
Absolutely. Not a team built for the future. Just projection for this division. Intermediate, like in 2 to 5 years, I think 49ers and Cardinals are clearly going to be the top teams there, because the Seahawks and Rams they're both trending down.
Yes.
They're both on an upward spiral. I think the Niners are built very well for the future. I think the Cardinals are building very well for the future if Kyler Murray works out. The Rams will end up 5-11, probably just not this year. But it's gonna get worse because they have so much dead cap and so much money allocated incorrectly. I think Jalen Ramsey was sort of a desperation move last year when they saw that they weren't winning the division, and the Seahawks and 49ers were actually strongly traded for Jalen Ramsey in an attempt to get back to the Super Bowl, which we know spectacularly failed. I don't see them make the playoffs, and they're probably trending down. We'll see. They have awful new uniforms. They are. I mean, I can't stress how ugly they are.
They're horrible.
The helmet, they are horrible, and they might play accordingly. They say you look good, you play good. I wonder if it works in the inverse. Also, we will find out with the Rams, and maybe you are going to be right. But that's it for now. That's our NFC picks. So just let's just summarize it. Who do you have winning your divisions, and who will make the playoffs in your plan here?
All right, I have the Eagles, the Packers, the Falcons, and the Niners winning the divisions. And as far as the wild card, you got the Saints and the Vikings. And then there's a fight for that third spot because I have 3 of them, and it's probably going to go to strength of schedule. Seahawks, Cowboys, and Lions are all fighting for that third spot.
Right. So it's a close one. It's even closer for me. Now, division winners, I have Eagles, Vikings, the Saints, and the Niners. For all the wildcard spots, I have 4 teams tied at 10-6, and nothing better than that is division second. So that's gonna be the Packers, Falcons, Bucks, and Seahawks, all at 10-6. 3 of those teams are going to get a wildcard spot. Now, granted, this is not precise. Obviously, a lot of things will happen, and if it actually came down to so many teams being so equal, it's going to be very, very tough. But NFC seems packed. I think overall the NFC still seems a bit stronger than the AFC, especially with more of a lack of just straight up duds. I think the only really terrible team will be Washington, and then you don't really know what's going to happen with Carolina. But I don't think we have a strong contestant here for anything between 0 and 2 wins. I think the Redskins are sort of in that, like, slightly above that territory, whereas the AFC, you have the Jaguars who are very much in contention to to have a fall season depending on what happens with Gardner Minshew. And let me remind you just quickly again before we sign off, we did the AFC last week already. If you haven't seen that, the link to that video is on my channel page, and hopefully in the description of this video. You can also find it on Smokey's channel, which is Trash Talk Sports, which is also linked on my channel page and the description of this video, which you should go visit anyway to give him a subscription. And because all of these podcasts are hosted on his channel as well, so if you subscribe to both of the channels, that's just, you know, double the security that you're not gonna miss an upload, because sometimes you just don't get the notifications. So go ahead, I would encourage you to do that, plus the bonus content that he does.
Before we sign out, who's going to the Super Bowl? Niners and
Chiefs.
Oh, okay. Oh, you did give that right. Okay, I got the Bills going.
You have the Bills.
Yes.
You have
I think I'm gonna say the Falcons and the Bills, because that would make my year.
And why does Patrick Mahomes retire suddenly in your projection there?
He's not going to. He's going to be beaten like he was.
Oh, you think he gets hurt? You think he gets hurt or something?
No.
Chiefs get DQ'd by some reason? Or, he gets traded. Oh, they traded to Buffalo. Now I know what you're saying.
What's actually going to happen is he's just going to suck.
Okay. You want to make a bet? You want to make a bet out of that?
I hate
formulated
to
into
blaspheme on our Lord and Savior Patrick Mahomes, but
let's turn it into a bet.
He's not going to the Super Bowl.
You like Deshaun Watson so much. You like him so much better. We have a bet going on that Deshaun Watson will be a top 5 quarterback next year, which you say he will, I say he won't. How about we make that same bet about Mahomes and just we switch roles, and then we see who really is the better player. Top 5.
No, because I believe he is a top 5 quarterback overall. I just think the Bills are going to the Super Bowl rather than the Niners. Rather than the Chiefs. Sorry.
And who's beating the Chiefs? Is Buffalo beating the Chiefs?
Yes.
So they're gonna beat the Chiefs head to head in the AFC Championship.
If they don't get knocked out before that point, yes.
Okay.
Because I can see, Baltimore could do it. Let me pull up my AFC. I could see Baltimore or the Texans. I don't know that the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Steelers. The Texans almost did it last year until they gave up that comeback.
And now they got worse.
First of all, they have to get past the Broncos to win that division.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't like the Broncos, but I'm high on them this season. I think the Broncos are going to be really good this season.
I'm not going to win the division, but they'll be good. I like Drew Lock.
The Broncos could have the run that the Eagles had a couple years ago.
Maybe if Drew Lock is Carson Wentz, if he's
and
really
I think
there
yet. I think that's his ceiling. I think Drew Lock's ceiling is Carson Wentz. I'm
not sure if he'll be there this year. He was my listen. Don't same as with Daniel Jones. Don't play yourself as the Drew Lock guy. Okay, I'm also the Drew Lock guy. As a matter of fact, he was the one quarterback I had over Daniel Jones.
I'll give you one that you're not
in that year. What is it?
Kyler Murray's ceiling is Russell Wilson.
I seriously doubt it. I know how you like the comparison, but I've introduced this stat, the height of release, right? In height they're similar. Height plus length of arm.
Yes.
Kyler is a lot shorter. And I don't think he has the type of playmaking. I don't think he has the type of maturity as an actual passer. He's slippery, but he's more of a running quarterback.
But when Russell won the Super Bowl, he wasn't a passing quarterback either. He
also had the number one. He had the number one defense in the league, and
that's true.
But I feel like just comparison wise, and this is a way good to say it. Kyler is a running quarterback. Russell is a quarterback that can run. Like Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback that can run. Whereas, for example, look at RG3 or Colin Kaepernick, those guys, they were running quarterbacks. And whenever it came to passing and making more than one read, they they kind of fell off the wagon when they started getting stopped with their athleticism and their run game. That's a danger that Kyler and Lamar Jackson are much more susceptible of as Russell Wilson at this point.
Learned how to pass. I mean, he became a passing quarterback this past season. Yeah, he's still a running quarterback. He's one of the few that are both. You know, we've seen
he's a running quarterback. If Lamar Jackson can't run, say Lamar Jackson just can't run anymore, you take his run game away, that not only directly but also it indirectly affects his pass game a lot because the threat isn't there.
Well, he's gonna be
if they stop the run,
sure, if he can't run,
he's gonna be like they just contain him in the pocket. They're gonna set 2 people down plus a spy to stop the option in its tracks and make him drop back 40 times. Actually have like a drive where he throws 6 times in a row from the pocket, no scrambling because he's getting contained, a little bit of pressure up the middle. That's something I need to see from him. Right? That's something I haven't really seen that much.
I'm not saying, he's a Drew Brees pocket passer. I'm saying that he improved his passing game by multitudes last season.
Absolutely. I mean, he's already better.
That was part.
He's already better than I had projected.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, I think better than everybody had projected. But the thing is, oh man, I lost the point I was about to. I had a good point until you said the projection thing, and I was like, yeah, I lost it.
Something about Kyler and Russell still?
No, it was about Lamar. But either way. Whatever. Lamar is great. He's both a passing and a running quarterback. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Is that was part of the dynamic that made the Ravens so good last season is when the receivers were not in line for Lamar to make his passes, which I'm not necessarily blaming it on Lamar in this way. When the receivers, and they were really young, his number 1 receiver was a rookie last season. When they weren't doing it, he would just take matters into his own hands and run in for the touchdown, and no one could stop him. But
sound familiar?
With a developed.
Who's calling the play? Who's calling the plays? Who's calling the plays? Greg Roman.
Yeah.
Sound even more familiar? This is a scary copy of the 49ers from 2013. How long did that last?
Yeah, but Kaepernick did not have the passing ability that Lamar has at this point, and I think Lamar's going to keep developing.
No, that's to a degree I agree with this. But would you have said at the year that Kaepernick had this standout year, and he won an NFC Championship, and they were unstoppable? Would you have said maybe a similar thing about him there because of the offensive design and the option and the designs for him to scramble out and leave the pocket masked a lot of his game because he wasn't really thrown into those situations as much. Now, I think, of course, I would agree Lamar's a better passer now than Kaepernick ever was. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he's as good of a passer as people think he is because the run and the offensive design masks so much of what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not calling him an elite passer. I just think he's better than the other running quarterbacks.
Yes, yeah, he's the best running quarterback in the league right now. The
best passing running quarterback, I would say.
The best passing running quarterback. Yes. Now, if we're talking the passing quarterback who can run, you have Russell and you have Aaron Rodgers.
No, the other way. I mean, you got the running quarterbacks. You have Josh Allen.
Kyler.
You have Cam Newton. You have Kaepernick. You have Kyler Murray. Russell. Yeah, I guess you don't consider Russell Wilson. I think he was a running quarterback in his rookie season.
Russell Wilson is more of an in the category with Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck as a passer who can run. Mm-hmm. Or Carson Wentz for that matter. I would actually consider Josh Allen in that situation more. So Josh Allen is even Cam Newton, though they do like to run and they definitely they have the build of a tight end, both of them. Lamar, like the category of Lamar and Kaepernick, that's even a more pure running type of quarterback.
It is, because you take Josh Allen and Carson Wentz and Cam Newton, these are giant men that are out there. They're the size of decent linebackers playing quarterback, whereas Lamar...
They're 260.
Lamar and Kyler are much smaller guys, but they're all mobile quarterbacks for sure.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And I think, listen, Lamar is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll be as good projection-wise as last season would have suggested. He's not going to be that for his entire career. He's still going to be a great player. He'll go to the playoffs many, many times. As long as he has a good team, like the good coach, stable team around him, and he's healthy, he'll be doing just fine. And I think he's better than Kyler Murray in those senses, which once again goes to show the difference between those two quarterback classes. But that's something we've talked about quite enough, in my opinion. So that's I guess it for the NFC.
Yep.
Let us know what you think. We put our predictions out. We put our full playoff picture out. This is the numbers that we have crunched together. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to be the results here. Who do you have winning? Who do you have maybe falling off the wagon? Who's going to be the disappointment or even the surprise of the season? Are you looking at a team like the Lions or the Cardinals to make waves? Let us know in the comments. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Go on over to Smokey's channel. I already plugged it a couple minutes ago. You know it's linked on my channel page. And if we don't have anything to add, Smokey,
that's it.
Yeah, we're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.